Bollywood to Hollywood with Rao Rampilla. Today we have an important guest from India, from New Delhi. Mr. You can say Professor Vivek Kumar. He is a visiting associate professor at Columbia University and an associate professor at Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. Welcome to the show, Vivek.
Thank you, Rao Saab. Thank you very much.
How are you?
I'm really fine, definitely, and really happy to be with you.
How is the city treating you?
Of course, it's welcoming city, and you get cultural shock as well. No doubt, coming from New Delhi to New York, it's of course 13 hours journey, but it takes you also some centuries back as well.
Well, Dr. Ambedkar,
Yeah.
your predecessor, he was at Columbia University. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I was also a student, was a student at Nehru University. What do you teach?
First of all, you have remembered Baba Saheb Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, and fortunately we are going to celebrate his century next year. He landed in Columbia in 1913, and it's after, you can say, almost 100 years after his arrival, somebody has come to teach here. So it's a historical moment for me, at least, to associate with little bit of Baba Saheb Ambedkar.
He was the chairman of the Constitution making.
Yeah, Baba Saheb Ambedkar, or B.R. Ambedkar as he is known as, was the father of Indian Constitution. And he played a very dominant role, taking single-handedly and formulated Indian Constitution. Now coming to university, Jawaharlal Nehru University, your and our alma mater, as we can say, definitely. I teach sociology there in the Center for the Study of Social Systems.
And what subject exactly do you teach?
The Center for the Social System is basically called sociology. We took it from
but what subject do you teach?
That is sociology, and I teach especially Indian society, and within society, Indian society, I specialize on the scheduled caste, marginalized sections, scheduled tribes, and other human right violations and other things as well.
So when you talk about scheduled caste, people here they don't know what is scheduled caste.
Yes, scheduled caste, you see,
Are
nowadays...
you talking about Dalits?
Nowadays they are called as Dalits.
Well, what were they called before?
Yeah, they were called as untouchables in Indian society, and because Constitution of India has abolished untouchability, practice of untouchability in any form under Article 17.
I understand that. Why were they called untouchables?
They were called as untouchables because the society excluded them from the main society, main area of living.
Which society?
Hindu society, exactly. Hindu society excluded them from interaction pattern. They cannot be touched, they cannot touch water, they cannot enter in temple, they cannot enter in mainland, and they were kept outside. And even if they tried, they were beaten and they were punished to the hilt. So nowadays, if you see, they account for 180 million people of Indian society who were excluded, not for a year, not for 100 years, but for centuries, for thousands of years.
My question is, why were they treated that way? Were they born that way? Historically, were they like that before 2000 BC?
Mr. Rao, I think we have to understand Dalits in an institution called caste system. And caste system is a closed group in which people are born, they marry with each other, and they have commensality, they eat with each other. Others are excluded from that group. So in Indian society, if you see, there are thousands of castes, 6,000 castes, which marry within each other, they eat with each other. But this can be collaborated into 5 ladder home. The first is Brahman, the second home is called Kshatriya, the third is Vaishya, the fourth is Shudra, and the fifth, the most you can say despised and excluded, are called untouchables, now Dalits. Now for them there were no rights, neither right to educate, neither right to property, neither right to life even. They can be butchered anytime. So this was the fifth ladder I am talking today, which is now 180 million.
Comparing to the American situation, are the Dalits, untouchables, are they like blacks?
They can be compared in many terms, because these people, if you talk about Afro-Americans, you are talking about blacks, they were basically excluded and they were uprooted from their histories. But here in India, these untouchables are not uprooted, they remain part, and that becomes more heinous because the religion of which they are a member them itself tries to exclude them and tries to exploit. So the enemy here the enemy was black and white, you can say, but here the enemy is within, of the same religion and of the same color. Therefore the fight of the Dalits becomes even more, you can say, difficult.
Let me understand. At least in America there is a difference of color.
Yeah.
So blacks are black, whites are white. I mean, some blacks are whiter than the whites,
Okay.
blend ones. But once you have a little bit of black, you are a black.
Okay.
So you are segregated, discriminated. But at least this is a capitalist system. So once you have money, you can go up, like President Obama or some of these millionaire, billionaire sports people. What is it that is keeping them in India not able to go up that way?
You have very
Are
well
they
said.
able to go up?
You have very well said that this is a class system where if you have education, if you have actually money, you can move up. An egalitarian society where everyone is treated equally. But here people were born unequal, and therefore it is a closed system. Once you are born in one story, you cannot move in the other story, because this membership of the story is because of birth, and along with birth there are religious sanctions which will stop you, that you cannot move, you cannot take education, you cannot take arms, you cannot have property. These were ritual and religious sanctions on these people which kept them closed in the group called caste, and they became untouchables and segregated. They lost all their property, their all capacity, and their all education and everything. So the system here was open, people could move up. The rights and enshrined in Indian American Constitution took them far ahead. But in India, the rights which are now after 1947 have been enshrined in Indian Constitution, they are not being implemented in letter and spirit. And therefore, the closed system still remains too much closed, where actually Dalits are fighting their battle for their human rights violated. And let me give you statistics. I'm talking about, I did a research from 2001 to 1991 to 2001, and there have been 3,700 actually, atrocities, 3,700. We call it as 3,75,000 atrocities on Dalits. Each day 2 Dalits are murdered and 3 Dalit women are raped. This is the case of human rights violation of Dalits.
So we'll come to these atrocities eventually.
Okay.
So let me understand. So in India, you're born into a caste, and you die into that caste. You can never ever change your caste. Whereas here, if you're born to one class, if you become rich, you can change the class.
Of course.
But you are saying, despite the constitutional guarantees, despite the affirmative actions programs, even though some people have come up, but the system remains the same. It's not because of the legality or the constitution, but because of the religion, which is a Hindu religion. And the Hindu religion is oppressing these people, keeping them down. What about Gandhi? Gandhi, did he ever fight for the untouchables or Dalits?
Let me just touch upon the issue in US. You were talking about that here the people have moved up.
Some people, not all.
Yeah, I'm saying that you have examples.
We have Occupy Wall Street saying there are 99% still down. Now they're going down.
But you have examples where you have produced boxers, you have produced lawn tennis players, you have produced millionaires, movie stars. You name one at least there that these social avenues are open for Dalits there. And this, if they are not present, that means the society is still not open and not welcoming. Second, even if you achieve economic and political development, or you have a mobility, economic mobility, educational mobility, or geographical mobility, if you come even 7 seas across, your caste is not going to die. You will be definitely reminded time and again of the stigmatized identity with which you grew in your Indian society. Therefore, that stigma tries to have a discrimination against you. You see what is happening now. Now, when you talk about...
You're saying you cannot run away even though you run away from India.
You run away from India, you come in diaspora, you live in US, you live in UK, Canada, Australia, or Malaysia, you will be reminded of your caste. And
by whom?
By the upper strata who live, upper caste, I will say, who live in different parts of the world.
Western world.
In Western world. And you just click shadi.com, a website, or you open any,
That's about the marriage.
matrimonial columns which come in Indian newspaper. You can go to any Indian glossary shop and you see the last page of the paper. You will see how people are still asking caste by caste spouses. Have they forgotten their caste?
Like they say, a Brahmin girl,
a Vaishnava Brahmin girl,
boy, will sponsor for a green card.
Then you go to shadi.coms or Vivaha matrimonial websites. So I say that caste has moved from reality to virtual reality.
What about this outsourcing? Now Americans are outsourcing work to India. Is that any way going to the Dalits or untouchables, or is it helping, or is it just perpetuating the system?
No, Mr. I'll say that at 3 levels I have tried to check this. One is at the university level. When you call people here for actually taking lots of scholarship, who are the people who are cornering them? Second, I will also try to analyze the NGOs, international NGOs, who go there and try to give a helping hand to the Indians. Whom are they giving? Are they giving to real Dalits or the ex-untouchables of Indian society? Not at all. The second thing is, of course, of industry you are talking about. When they go and outsource the work, are they really looking after the most deprived sections of Indian society? I think so, no. Because, what happens is that they are nowhere in the radar. They are so downtrodden, they are so excluded that they never come in the vogue of the general masses. Neither university, neither NGOs, neither industry. So I think there has to be a deliberate attempt on American part to look who are the real needy people. Poor may not be equal the same. Poor of the Brahmin community may be different from poor of a Dalit community, because Dalits were deliberately made poor because of ritual sanctions. Now, some people are poor because they have not been working hard. So there is difference between poor people in India. You see, poor Brahmin comes and begs and he is giving you ashirwad or blessings. But a poor cobbler polishes the shoes. He cleans the toilet. He picks up your rags, but he is basically thrown money at him, and you will not respect him. So this is the difference between poor of India.
Well, there is a slogan in Deep South, poor and proud. a white man may be poor, but he is proud.
Proud of his legacy, proud of his ancestry.
But same thing with Brahmins. I mean, they may be poor.
They are poor, but they are having their actually, thread across their chest, and they are ready. They are ready to say that, look, they are proud of their ancestry. But this is not happening with the Dalits, even though they wear three-piece suit, and yet they are stigmatized.
But
this happened with the President of India. One Dalit became President of India, and he was time and again reminded that he's a Dalit, though there was nothing of his ancestry in actually bringing him there. He was qualified person, and he was a...
Who was he?
K.R. Narayanan, a South Indian Dalit, who had done his graduation from London School of Economics, and then became actually, external affairs person. And then he was elevated to presidentship. But he was time and again reminded that he was a Dalit.
He was our Vice Chancellor.
Also, Jawaharlal Nehru University Vice Chancellor.
One of the first Vice Chancellors.
Thank you for reminding that he was Vice Chancellor of a university, that is Jawaharlal Nehru University, one of the most prestigious, where I teach, of course. It is not because I teach it is prestigious, but it is one of the most prestigious university in South Asia right now. Now, coming to Gandhi, there is this tug of war, and I think there is a lot of celebration in the West of Gandhi. And I'm talking about Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, because there are now many Gandhis in India, so you should not be confused. And you see that, whatever researchers have come out, even Ambedkar himself wrote that when Gandhi was leading the temple entry movement, and he mentions about Guruvayur temple movement, and Periyar, mentions about temple entry movement in South.
See, people don't know who is Periyar here.
Okay. Periyar was a leader of, you can say, backward community.
In Madras.
In Madras presidency, as it was known, and now Chennai. So Periyar and Ambedkar both are two voices who were leading the Dalit in their own areas. So Periyar and Ambedkar tried to expose the hypocrisy of Mr. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, whether he actually led a temple entry movement for Dalits or not. And the tug of war between Ambedkar and Gandhi is pitched because Ambedkar wanted a separate existence for the Dalits. Because
what kind of separate existence?
Separate existence, that they should be treated as minorities. Because minorities have their own rights. They were not part of Hindu social order. This was Ambedkar's, plea, and that's why he converted in 1956 to Buddhism.
So what is Gandhi's objection to that?
Gandhi thought that actually if the Dalits go out of Hindu pale, then the struggle for Indians' freedom will be pale. It will be softened.
But that's what it got to do with minority treatment.
That is what is the politics of Gandhi, that Gandhi wanted to pitch the majority community, that is Hindu whole, against the minority community of Muslims at that time, and therefore he was trying to hold Dalits within the fold of Hindu social order. Ambedkar said that for social reform has to precede political power, because ultimately it is the people who are governed should need rights. And how are you going to distribute the rights? Because Ambedkar knew from the very beginning that once India got freedom, the rights to the Dalits will not be given. And he was quite prophetic, as we are seeing. Now the rights are trickling down. Even after 60 years of India's independence and 64 years of Indian independence and promulgation of a democratic constitution, Dalits do not have their democratic rights in place. They are butchered in and out, and as we will talk later.
So why is that West doesn't know about this issue, and why don't they talk about it?
I think West is overpowered by the celebration of Gandhi. And
why?
Because actually they themselves were supposed to deal with the nation. They wanted to keep a relationship with the nation. They were not going to be, answerable to the people of that nation. They wanted to have a relationship with the government. And government, because government was celebrating Gandhi, they wanted to get legitimacy from Gandhi. These people, the Westerners, tried to associate with Gandhi much more, and they dump Ambedkar.
But at least in South Africa, they were able to raise the issue of apartheid.
Yeah.
But we are not able to raise the issue of Dalits vis-a-vis like the blacks in South Africa.
Oh, I think you are correct in the sense that people in South Africa have been more successful in raising the voice. But again, you have to see the enemy, the war against which the battle is pitched was black and white. So that means the two camps were ready-madely drawn. So who was where and who was on whose side, it was totally known. But in India, this is basically under the garb of one Hindu social order. This practice of untouchability and exclusion goes on. Therefore, Ambedkar wrote, the fight of Dalits is much more difficult than the fight of the blacks in US. And he tried to compare slavery with untouchability. He tried to understand Roman slavery and American slavery with untouchability, and he found that untouchability is much more heinous because here the rights have been denied from the birth itself. People were uprooted in the history, they could recoup their history, and they are now going ahead with everything, with education, with you can say sports, with culture, and also in films. They are going ahead. But these people were denied the cultural rights, and still that hegemony continues, and they are not able to achieve their capacity as they could have done.
Well, Ambedkar was able to come out of that society and be able to go to Columbia University and then go back and help their people. And after several years, several decades, you were able to come here, and now you will go back. So there are few examples like that. And how can we say that there is no opportunity at all for the untouchables?
Well, you see that Ambedkar got an opportunity not because of the nation. He got an opportunity because a benevolent king who was a backward king, and he himself suffered untouchability. So you can very well imagine the rigidity of Indian system that even a king was suffering.
It was a Maharaja.
Maharaja, of an empire. It was a small empire, so what? But he was a king, he was a emperor, and he was suffering because of caste system. So
Which caste did he belong?
He belonged to a backward community, and that was basically OBC. We call it as Kurmi, as they say. So he was a landed, of course, a king, and he used his, power to give little bit of scholarship. Otherwise, Ambedkar could have never come. Today also, when I have come here, I have come on American and Indian, collaboration scholarship. So there is actually my friend Gajendran, who came on Ford Foundation scholarship. So you tell me, where is that Indian scholarship which sends Dalits abroad? Though Ambedkar in Pune Pact was telling that there should be a scholarship for the Dalits to go abroad and study. So there are scholarship, even if there are scholarship, there are scholarships meant for the upper strata who corner the most of the scholarship. Dalits do not get at all scholarship at all. So it's very difficult to come up to this level. We are, you can say, exceptions.
I was also from Jawaharlal Nehru University. I studied there 81 and 83.
Okay.
And we fought against the caste discrimination. I was on hunger strike for 14 days, along with Chandrabanu Prasad, now the famous journalist, Dalit journalist. And eventually they kicked me out. So I came to America. I never went back. But you were able to become a professor there in the university that kicked me out. It's Jawaharlal Nehru University is known as the Sorbonne of India,
Yeah.
or Oxford or Harvard of India.
Yeah.
But now you're able to land a nice chair. How did you do that?
Well, actually, I landed up in a Center for the Study of Social System Sociology.
Are you from the untouchable caste?
Of course, I belong to Dalit community,
but you were able to get a
I get a
professorship.
chance because of my reservations. Affirmative action in Jawaharlal Nehru University. First, I became a student. I did my MA, MPhil, and PhD. Probably the first PhD in the center who has done MA, MPhil, and PhD. So for 30 years there was no MA, MPhil, and PhD. There were PhDs, but not MA, MPhil, and PhD. So I was one of the few, or you can say the first one to do. And out of that, actually, there were some posts which are lying vacant. So it was, I think, by chance. It was a matter of by chance that I could get into. And Jawaharlal Nehru University, as you all know, that is much more lenient as far as caste system is concerned. And I think probably because of you all people that you fought a battle in 1983. So we could reap in 2001 some of the fruits.
Well, they gave scholarships to everyone after we fought, but we know our careers will be ruined. But we were willing to do that along with which was a struggle. So it's not one person's, not mine, but everyone's fight.
But as a representative, let me congratulate, because we meet very rarely some people who have fought that battle, and we are benefiting from that.
Well, I'm glad we met, and some of our struggle fruition into giving some opportunities, so some of the new people will come and take up that fight and keep going.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We will continue this discussion into how to fight the system in our next episode. But meanwhile, I like to thank the audience for carefully listening to this issue, which is a very, very mind-boggling and years-old issue. There is a saying that trees are falling in the forest, but did anyone listen? And people and the untouchables have been crying. No one ever listened. So let's listen. And if you have any questions, just give us send an email or call nrrampillai@hotmail.com, or send an email to Professor Vivek. I will forward your email to him if you have any questions. Thank you. Until the next episode. Goodbye.
Thank you.